Boxing, mixed martial arts, Thai boxing, kickboxing, Lethwei. What are these? Well, they're all forms of combat. Of course, they're martial arts, but they're forms of combat. And combat is just a fancier way of saying fighting. And human beings as a species, we are obsessed with fighting. If you go back thousands of years to the Colosseum, absolutely packed out watching people get their heads chopped off and eaten by tigers, etc, etc. But what is the point of this video? Well, I was just thinking about our obsession for fighting, and well, to be honest, it came more from a story that I saw a few days ago, or maybe it was last week. A boxer in South Africa sadly passed away, Simiso Buthelezi. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. A South African boxer fighting for a local title in the 10th round actually knocked his opponent through the ropes, knocked him through the ropes, winning the fight, but after knocking him through the ropes, then turned round and started fighting an invisible opponent. Clearly an issue with this man and his brain not working correctly. And as I say, sadly, this man went to the hospital, passed away. He had bleeding on the brain. And as we know, fighting is a very, very tough sport. In mixed martial arts, according to Bleacher Report, 1 death per year, compared to boxing, sadly, 11 deaths per year. Now, I'm not here to shit all over combat sports. No, I love it. Combat sports gave me everything that I have. But it just got me thinking, with the explosion of mixed martial arts, which again, I'm a huge fan of. I love mixed martial arts. I love that it's so popular. I love that people admire and appreciate what we do, and they have respect for the brave men and women that step into a ring, into an octagon, whatever type of combat arena it is. People love it. People give us the respect that we are due. But with this new popularity that we have, with the explosion of particularly mixed martial arts, boxing's always been popular, but with the UFC mainly getting so big, a lot of people want to do it, and I mean, that is just such a sad statistic. 11 deaths per year from boxing. I mean, the man had bleeding on his brain. You can clearly see, so that means, as the fight was getting on, he was getting worse and worse. He was winning the fight, knocks his opponent through the ropes, and then turns around and starts trying to fight somebody that wasn't there, somebody invisible. What was going on in that poor guy's brain? Anyway, it just got me thinking, because a lot of people now, they want to do it. We're seeing all kinds of celebrities want to box. We're seeing strong men, no offense to them, they're trying to fight, they're trying to box. We've got YouTubers, for crying out loud. Yes, Jake Paul. Of course, Jake Paul, he's boxing people these days, but he's being smart. He's being smart. He's not looking for tough fights, is he? And I don't blame the guy, because as I say, it's very, very dangerous. It's not for everybody. You have to be cut from a certain type of cloth. Like when I was younger, I feel I was born as a fighter. I really do. Now, granted, my environment as a child kind of shaped that. I leaned into that persona. I was often getting into street fights. There was violence in my house. I was always fighting with my older brothers. My mum and dad, they would kick the shit out of me as well. So that definitely shaped me. But as I say, I was always drawn to it. I always loved it. And some people are like that. And they're the people, the legendary fighters throughout history. They're born that way. But now there's a lot of people that are jumping on the bandwagon, as I say. Jake Paul, I'm not trying to talk shit about the guy. He's a decent athlete. He's a decent boxer. It was a beautiful knockout against Tyron Woodley. This video is not about Jake Paul. It's about the masses. It's about a lot of YouTubers, about a lot of people wanting to do it. Now, of course, doing martial arts is one of the best things that you can do. Certainly for children. If you're a parent, put your children in martial arts. But there's a very, very different thing in training martial arts. Right, for children, the benefits, as I said, they are endless. It'll teach them respect, stops them getting in trouble on the streets, right? It's teaching them self-defense, it's teaching them confidence. They have to go out on a mat in front of the rest of the class watching, and whatever art it is, go up against another child, the flexibility, confidence, the benefits are endless, But, so that's great, and I encourage everyone to do martial arts. But being a martial artist and being a fighter are two completely different things. Fighting is where you're trying to knock your opponent out, where you're trying to literally put him to sleep or beat him so badly that the referee steps in and stops it, or the opponent taps out and says, I'm done. And I hate to break it to you, jiu-jitsu is not a fight. And I know a lot of you people watching this right now that do jiu-jitsu and you put your gi on, but that's not a fight, and they do call it fights, but they're not. They're bouts, they're contests, they're matches, granted, and I love it, and I have total respect for jiu-jitsu as an art form, probably one of the best martial arts on the planet. But still, a jiu-jitsu match is not a fight. Okay, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. If you've got a gi on right now and you're like, no, but I'm a really good fighter, you're not. Doing flowery, powery jiu-jitsu is not stepping into an octagon with 4-ounce gloves on, stepping into a ring with 8-ounce, 10-ounce, 12-ounce, doesn't matter. Whatever ounces they are, right? Doesn't matter. If you're trying to end your opponent, if you're trying to knock them out, you're trying to do them damage, that's a real fight. And it's not for everybody. As I say, it's got very, very popular. Sadly, people do die, as I say. I lost an eye. I mean, there's been some crazy injuries over the years. This weekend here in Singapore, as you can see again, UFC 275 going down, Joanna Jędrzejczyk's head. Remember that? The last fight was Zhang Weili, the greatest female fight that we've seen, certainly in the UFC. I don't know about the boxing world. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor was a good one recently, but still, in terms of mixed martial arts, Zhang and Joanna, the best female fight that you'll ever see. And they're stepping back in there with one another, and it's just crazy because it's probably going to be a very, very similar scenario. And the point of what I was saying and how this relates is, look at that massive hematoma, right? The swelling on the head. That poor boxer, the poor guy, last week, he died from bleeding on the brain. There could have been bleeding on Joanna's brain. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy that we do this, but Joanna is a natural fighter. Zhang Weili is a natural fighter. Not everybody is, you know. If you want to compete, you want to do martial arts, oh my God, go for it, 100%. I mean, just think of some of the injuries over the years. I mean, Anderson Silva snapping his leg. Chris Weidman snapping his leg. There's been a few leg breaks over the years. What else is there? If you can think of any other injuries that I'm not thinking of right now off the top of my head, Donald Cowboy Cerrone's eye, when he did that, when he broke his nose and then tried to blow his nose and the eye popped out. That was a good one. I mean, there's been some crazy injuries over the years, you know. So as I say, this sport is tough. So that's why I respect everyone that steps in there. You know, I know a lot of the time, if you watch the channel, if you watch my podcast, I have fun. You know, I make jokes, I say silly things, but it's always just we all have good sense of humour as fighters. And generally you find that all us fighters are very, very similar. Most of us have a good sense of humour. Most of us don't take ourselves too seriously. And most of us can laugh at ourselves. So that's what we do. But there's always respect there. I never disrespect a fighter. And you shouldn't do that either. Because I know sometimes a lot of people, when they see a fighter that loses, they message them directly. I talked about this at my Hall of Fame speech. It's unbelievable. If a fighter goes out there and loses, puts it all on the line while you're sitting on your couch with a big fat beer belly, with a beer in your hand and a pie in the other hand or a slice of pizza or whatever it is, and you're going to criticise a fighter that's got themselves in shape, done a full training camp, stepped into an octagon, boxing ring, whatever it is, and they're putting it all on the line, and then they lose, and you go to social media and send a message of abuse, shame on you. The amount of messages that I've had, DMs, I mean, I don't even check them anymore because sometimes there's very nice things, but often there's a lot of abuse, so I don't even check my DMs. But I've seen some terrible things. Anthony Smith, I do my podcast with him, believe you me. If you haven't subscribed and rang that bell, I suggest you do so. He says the shit that he gets. So if you're one of those guys, if you've ever gone out there and done that, as I say, shame on you. But yeah, I was just reading that sad story. Simosi Buthelezi, rest in peace, my friend. Yeah, and it just breaks my heart. But that's what we do. It's the cloth that we're cut from. It's who we are as people. We love to compete. Like this weekend, Joanna and Zhang Weili. Will the fight go down just like the first one? I don't know, right? But there's a good possibility. If you take two fighting dogs, you take two pit bulls, and you lock them in a cage together, what are they going to do? They're going to fight. They're going to go at each other because it's just who they are. It's in their DNA. They were built for this. They were built for that. It's just who they are. And this weekend, that's what they're going to do. Now, granted, you know, we're human beings. We're not, you know, so there's going to be strategy. You know, you're going to try and set traps. Joanna Jędrzejczyk's probably going to try and maintain a bit more range, use a bit more footwork. But make no mistake, they're going to go to war because it's what we do. Right? Simple as that. We're fighters. It is what it says on the tin. Anyway, as I say, I'm not even sure what the point of this video was, but I just saw that story about that poor boxer, and it just had me thinking, you know, if you want to fight, go for it. But deep down inside yourself, if you're not a real fighter, if you're just doing it for clout, if you're doing it because it looks cool, do something else. Find a different hobby. Anyway, hope you're all well. Heading over to the arena here in Singapore. We've got the weigh-ins very, very shortly, so I got to go. You take care.